Well, hey there. My name is Crafty Kathy. I am the owner and creator of Kids Vintage Farmhouse here in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and I am so happy and thankful that you stopped in to craft and spend a little time with me today. This week I've been working on some beautiful spring Easter decor that has a vintage flair. I think you're going to like it, so let's just jump on in. The first DIY is super easy. I got this vintage pail at the antique booth where my booth was, and I really did like it. It's just from the 60s. I think it's beautiful. And these are actually stickers. I made these from a company sent me, it was Koala is the name of the company. They sent me this sticker paper to try out. And all you do is print your image on this piece of paper. It's got a sticker back and you pull it off. It's so easy. So I thought, well, let's just use this. And I've got this beautiful vintagey looking little rabbit on here. And at first I wanted to tear it because you know when I decoupage, I don't like straight edges. And so I thought, wouldn't that be beautiful if I could just tear it and make it kind of look like it's decoupage? Well, Kathy, this is sticker paper, so it don't tear so easy. Now, I had already made like a little wrinkle or a crease in this piece up here, so I had to keep going. It was just coming off in pieces, and I was like, dang, what am I going to do? So anyways, make a long story short, I just went down through there, and I just kind of ripped that one side, and then I gave up on it, and I said, it's going to look all right anyway. So then I just simply pulled this sticker off and put it right on the front of this can. And I had already previously painted this can. I used different colors of silver to make it look just a little bit more vintagey. I put my floral foam down in my can, and I'm going to use this eucalyptus that I get from the Walmart. And I cut it in half, the piece, the actual stem, because I wanted it to be a little bit smaller than what it was. I want it to kind of be a ground piece, if that makes sense. I put a piece in the back and a piece in the front, because what you put on one side, you put in the exact same spot on the other side. Now I'm going in with my taller pieces that are going to be in the middle, and these are just almost like a boxwood fern, I guess you could say. I put two taller pieces there in the middle. I'm going to use one more of this eucalyptus piece and cut it in half also. I didn't think I was going to have to use the other piece of eucalyptus, so what I did was just added it to what I had. In other words, I had a piece in the back, so I added this other piece back there with it to make like a larger piece. And then I'm just going to stick that other piece right up in the front where I've got that one. And since these have got like wire in them, you can kind of manipulate them and pull them down forward a little bit where they kind of spill over the front of that can, and it makes it beautiful. Now these flowers, I got these from Temu, and they are gorgeous. I'm just going to start off in the middle, put my taller pieces in the middle, and then going down on the sides, I put my smaller pieces. And I always like to do that because it looks best when you have your tallest piece in the middle, and then going down on the sides, you've got your smaller pieces. Now, I pulled all these old rickety stems off of them because I didn't like, or not the stems, but the leaves. I didn't like the leaves. I thought they looked cheap. Now, this one I pulled off. It's just a random piece that I pulled off of another bundle that came from Temu, and I just stuck it in there because it added a little bit of greenery and just a little bit of something different. I like to put at least 3 different things in there. I like to put some kind of greenery, 1 or 2 different types of greenery in a can about this size. And then I like to put just a little bit of variety of flowers. So I did add those roses there, and then I'm adding this little piece that it looks like azaleas to me, this piece I'm cutting here. Now, it probably ain't because I don't know my flowers very well, and I don't say them right, so people make fun of me. But this is what's going to go right in the middle, and it's going to break up the monotony and add that extra little touch that this floral needs. And look at this. This is so easy. You throw it together, basically, and it's beautiful. You just follow some basic rules, put your tallest stuff in the middle, and go down on the sides. And you can't lose, baby. You're going to do it, and you're going to do it right. Now, I got these beautiful pampas grass from Temu. I always wanted pampas grass, but it's always so expensive on Amazon. So I found this at Temu and I loved it. It's real thin now and it's small. It takes a few pieces to be seen, but I'm going to put a couple pieces back here in the back and I'm going to push it all the way down to the bottom of the can because I don't want it too tall. I do want it to go over the tops of that greenery back there though, that green boxwood that's the tallest pieces. I do want it a little bit taller than that. So I fooled around with it for a few seconds and I put me 3 pieces back there and they're kind of in the middle almost. And all you do is just keep eyeballing it and see where you need to, put it and how you need to move it. You see here I was trying to maneuver it around and make it look right. And I even decided to cut it down because I thought, it's not going to mess it up if I cut it down. And if it does, I've got more. I can just change it out, I just didn't like the placement of it. So I just pulled it out. And what I did was kind of cut it maybe about, you see where I'm cutting it here, about halfway. And since it was a smaller piece, I thought this would be so beautiful to put it in the front. And that's my 3 different pieces that I was talking about. I've got the rose looking pieces, that azalea looking piece, and now I've got the pampas grass. And it just kind of adds something when you do at least 3. Now I kept 2 taller ones back there. I added 1 more, and I decided what I was going to do is cut them down with my little snippers, and that way I could cut them exactly where I wanted them, right over the top of those ferns. And that way the one in the middle's the tallest and the other 2 are stepping down. And that's pretty much all I did to this. It was so simple. And I'm just going to add my little bow to the front and we're going to be done with this beauty. How easy. Now I take my little ribbon here and I just make like 2 little bunny ears. And I'm just going to tie them like you tie your shoes. It's so simple. And then I just kind of fool with it to where it gets where I want it to be. I got this ribbon. It's like a chiffon ribbon from Temu. And this is not sponsored by Temu. I'm just using up all my stuff that I got from them. And I thought that this color was beautiful. It's perfect with that little vintage rabbit. It's got a vintage flare. And I just cut those little ribbons at an angle because I cut them kind of short and I didn't want to dovetail it and make it way short. And I just stuck it right there at the side beside that little handle. And of course, I've got to put a little bit of vintage flair on this. So I got out my Tim Holtz spray stain that I've been playing with so much. And I just added a little bit to my brush. My first thing I wanted to do was just kind of go around and add it to the picture. And then I'm going to pull out a baby wipe and just kind of rub it around to get that vintagey color all over my picture. Now that's absolutely everything I did to this first one. It was super simple and easy, just the way I like them. And I hope you like this one. Let me know what you think. Now this next one couldn't be any simpler. I wanted this frame because I have a beautiful picture that Miss Lori sent me. It's one of those decoupage papers and it's 11 by 14. She sent it to me from Milton's daughter, and that's where I get all my supplies, my DIY paint, my IOD stuff. So if you need any of that, you need to go visit my friend Lori over at Milton's daughter, and I'll leave the information down below. All I'm going to do is just take this frame that I got at the thrift store you saw for $3. I'm just going to use that Waverly white chalk paint. And I gave this frame 2 coats. So all I had to do on this one, I wouldn't even call this a DIY. I mean, it was so easy. It's basically painting the frame to make it brighter and look gorgeous. So it's a little bit taller than the frame. I just measured off where I needed to cut, and I cut it down. My faithful kitty cat Nala was very interested, and she was making sure that I was doing the job right. And I'd never put the glass back in these because I find that people like to buy them without the glass. And to be honest with you, I like them better without the glass myself. Now, I am going to go back and put a different back on this because that one says $3 on it, and I don't want to leave that on there and put it in my booth. But for now, just to show you guys, look at the difference this made just by painting the doggone frame. I mean, so simple and easy. And like I said, I like them that way. And it's got a vintage flair, guys.
I wanna know, where did we go wrong? Could we ever change this song into something beautiful, like the beauty that we've seen? I'm asking your lover, why do you have to be so mean? And as we go, let's get close, don't fool me. You're the only one who sees right through me. And when I call you.
Now on this one, I have two of those big styrofoam eggs, and I'm pretty sure these came from the Dollar Tree. Now I've been needing to put some larger eggs in some of my vignettes in the booth, so I thought what a better time than to do it now. And I want to decoupage these vintage pictures on there. Now this little picture of the bunny on the napkin, he looks vintagey to me, and the other ones definitely look vintage on the rice paper. So all I did was put these styrofoam eggs on a skewer, and I painted them white. And I know they were already white, but when you put that white chalk paint on there, it covers up all those old divots that's in that egg, and it just makes it look a little bit smoother. And all I did was put one just kind of messy coat all over it just to get the white down so we can decoupage, because decoupage always looks good when you do white behind it. And then I took my little hand zipper thingy. I'm not sure what in the world this is called. I think it's called a hand zipper, a zip sander, something to that effect, because these eggs had little sides on them that needed to just be shaved down. Did you know you can just sand them things down real quick and make them smooth and look good? So all I'm going to do is put a little bit of water down on my mat. Y'all know how I do it. Or I'll spray that little skinny paintbrush with water, and I just go around the image where I want it to come off at. Then you just use your fingers and tear it, because to me, if you do straight lines and you cut this with scissors, it don't look as good when you're decoupaging. It looks so much better when it's kind of torn like that, and it has that rough edge, I guess you could call it. So I just kind of look to see how these are going to look on there. I cut off two different ones of the little chicks. One is by like an old telephone, and the other one is like by an old stereo. And so all I'm going to do is put one of the images on the front of the egg and one on the back. I'm going to use my DIY liquid patina to do that. But I decided against doing any of the little rabbits, because I'm going to use this rabbit that's here on this napkin, and I'm going to do the exact same thing to him. I'm going to go all the way around that image with my wet paintbrush, and then I'm just going to pull it apart so it's going to be like a torn looking image, and it's not going to have those perfectly, cut edges that don't look that great when you're decoupaging. And I got lucky and didn't even have to fight with that extra layer on that little bunny rabbit. It come right off of there, and I was so happy, because sometimes them layers on the back can be real sneaky. So I took my liquid patina, and the first thing I'm going to do is wet my fingers and double check and make sure that there's no more backs, because looky there. Told you they're sneaky. Now, most of the times when you're looking at your napkin, you can totally see through that thing when it's right. Most napkins have 2 plies, but some have 3, and they are sneaky little boogers. You got to watch out for them, guys. So I just put a very light area of the liquid patina down. Now, liquid patina is like Mod Podge, except for it's a little bit thinner, and I like it better. That's the difference there. A lot of folks ask me what the difference is, and to me, that's the main difference. So I'm just going to lay my napkin down, and you see I start from the middle every time. And I made sure that he was right where I wanted him to be, and I pushed him down in the middle at first. Now I'm going to use my scissors because this is a round surface and it's not that easy to decoupage on. So what I do is make a couple of slits, and you go down and you use that liquid patina or Mod Podge that's on your brush to seal those sides in and to make them lay down. Now, when you have a circular object like this egg, a lot of times you're going to get a wrinkle or two on there, but don't fret. It's just a small wrinkle. It's not a big deal. It doesn't bother me. If it bothers you, just always, if I tell people if you don't want wrinkles, make sure you use saran wrap always and just go really slow. Now, see, I had to cut this several times to make sure that it's going to lay down right. I always start in that middle part because we want him to be perfect no matter what. So I'm using my fingers, which is a big no-no because that liquid patina could stick to it and pull that napkin up. But hey, I walk on the wild side, okay? So I'm just putting my liquid patina all over the front of this. I'm going down the sides here where I have cut it, and I'm using that paintbrush. And as you notice, I've got liquid patina, not a lot, but I've got it on my paintbrush, and I'm going from the inside out. Do you see what I mean? Like I'm starting there I'm going upward, you see, with my strokes. I'm not going downward because you'll pull that napkin back up. So just be careful, kind of go downward. Take your time. This is sped up a little bit, but take your time. And for heaven's sake, use your saran wrap, baby. That's what God made this stuff for. It's so good, and it gets those wrinkles out. Now, that saran wrap allows you to be able to touch the napkin without pulling it up. And the heat from your fingers and you pushing it back and forth creates like a little iron. That's the way I think of it, like when you're ironing your clothes. You know, you're ironing your napkin. You know what I'm saying? You're using your finger and the heat from your finger and that saran wrap and just kind of rubbing out them wrinkles. And most of the time, it works perfectly. But like I said, when it's a circular object like this, don't fret if there's a little bit of wrinkles. It's not the end of the world because we're wanting a vintagey look, and I think we're achieving it. Now for the second egg, we're going to use this rice paper, and I know it's going to be easier already because rice paper is a zillion million times easier to decoupage than a napkin. Because a napkin is so thin, it's so easy to mess it up and wrinkle it. But the rice paper is a little thicker. It's like a better, stronger material. But you still do the same techniques. You put a light bit of your decoupage medium, which mine is the liquid patina. You put it all over your surface. And then I start from the middle. I made sure my chicks were right there in the middle, and that place is going to be perfect. And I start from the center and go in like outward strokes. I'm doing that same thing that I did earlier. And I'm kind of using my paintbrush almost like an iron too, because I'm pushing down on it to make sure that I'm not going to get no wrinkles out of this. Now, the way that these were shaped, they were a little bit smaller than that napkin. I didn't have to cut any slits in them, and it just worked out perfect, and I didn't get any wrinkles out of these. I flipped it over, and I'm going to do the exact same thing on the back side. I put down my Mod Podge on the whole area. A lot of people just do small areas, but since this is a little old piece of rice paper, it's not that big, I went ahead and just put it all over. And you see, I kind of start at the middle. That's where I push down, is at the middle. And then I'm doing those outward strokes to make sure that I don't get any wrinkles. Now, here on the white part up above the little chickens, I did get a little bit of wrinkles. But like I said, that's what God made saran wrap for. And so I'm just going to use this little piece of saran wrap that I've got. And I'm going to go back and forth and kind of rub out those wrinkles with the heat from my fingers. And he turned out pretty. Then I'm quickly going to paint the rest of these little eggs. I'm going to use French Millinery, which is the most beautiful purple color I think I've ever seen. It's DIY paint, and I get it from Milton's daughter. And all I'm doing is pouncing this on here, up and down, like stippling it or pouncing it, however you want to call it. I'm just using an old cheap brush, and look what I did. I dropped it in the paint. I could not believe I did that, but it just slid right off the end of my little skewer thing there. And I was like, wowzers. So I just picked it up and finished pouncing that paint on there and set it aside and let it dry. Now the other little egg, I decided to use that beautiful color called Apothecary. It's DIY paint and it is perfect too. It's a great green color. Now you'll see all I'm doing here is just going around that image because I want my egg to be colored, but you want your image to be bright and vibrant. And that's all I did to these and set them aside and let them dry. When they dried, I took just a little squirt of that Tim Holtz spray stain. I couldn't help myself, okay? And I just kind of went around the image at first, and I noticed that it was very, very light. So I just kind of creased folded my baby wipe over, and it's getting just a little bit here and there. I don't know if that makes any sense or not. I'm just getting a little bit of that stain here and there, and then using the part of my baby wipe that don't have the stain on it to wipe it out. I think that these come out beautiful, and they're going to look great in my little vignettes.
Tick-tock, the clock keeps ticking. I don't know what I should do, and I wish you would be right here with me. My mind is filled with pictures of when we used to dance, but now I don't know where you are. I miss you so bad, won't you come back to me? I've got you in my head, you're all that I see. I've lost all my chances, I know that I am too late. I'm thinking of you, I'm thinking of you.
Hey guys, it's me, Crafty Kathy. I hope you're enjoying the video so far. These are super easy and anybody can do them. I just wanted to jump on here real quick to let you know that we're doing a giveaway. Now, the last video, I'll leave it in the description box below so you can go back and see all the details of how to enter. It's very easy, and I'll leave that in the description box below. So, also, if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, I don't know what in the world you're waiting for. I would love to have you here in my family. So hit that little red subscribe button and become a part of our family here on YouTube. Also, if you would, give me the big thumbs up. That's that like button because it really helps me out on YouTube. It helps push my videos out there for people who've never seen me before. And I wish everybody could see me and become my friend. We're going to announce the winner on Monday's video at 6:30. Good luck. It's a great giveaway. It's between $200 and $300 worth of product. I love you. Now this last one is just an old basket that I've had forever. It needed a new paint job because it had it just was barely painted. I think I bought it at the thrift store that way. So I just grabbed some of that Waverly white chalk paint and went over the whole thing real good to get it nice and bright and white. We're going to do some more decoupage inside this basket. I've been loving the look of this lately. So I laid it down to see where I needed it to be ripped at or torn. And I did my little water where I put the water on the paintbrush and go across it and rip it where I need it to go. I'm going to use my DIY liquid patina. And I'm going to make sure all those sneaky layers that are on the back of these napkins are totally off. And this one had 2 layers, but I thought it had 3. I just knew for the life of me it had 3, but it didn't. It ended up having 2. I'm telling you, these napkins are sneaky little boogers. So here's how I do my basket. If I have a basket like this, super easy. I laid the napkin down exactly where I wanted it to go. And at first I thought I might want it to go up the sides a little bit. I'll change that in a minute, but for now, let's stick to the plan, Kathy. I use my waxing brush, and I get this brush from Miss Lori over at Milton's Daughter. And what I'm doing is putting a little bit of that liquid patina in that brush and just kind of pouncing. It's almost like I'm pouncing and pushing down that napkin into the grooves of that basket. And I don't want to brush any of that napkin backward, so I'm doing that upward and outward motion all the way over it. I even used this sponge brush for a second, and it didn't work very well because the napkin wanted to stick to it. So I just used a cheap little paintbrush, and I'm doing the upward and outward motion here on the sides. I went all the way around this thing, making sure that I got the sides up, but I wasn't trying to be perfect. If the sides made like a wrinkle in the corners, I just pushed that in with that liquid patina and you can't even see it. So I went all the way around this basket using different brushes and just kind of pushing that napkin down into the basket. And if you notice, I didn't put any liquid patina down on the basket before I started. I laid the napkin down and then I did the liquid patina on the top of it. Now you can do this anytime. I'm loving the way these baskets look and I just think they're beautiful. After I got it exactly the way I wanted it, I let it dry. Now I pulled out my spray stain, of course, because I thought that that's what I was going to want on this basket. Now I left this in here because I corrected it, but I wanted to show you that I have issues too. This went amiss. We got off on a side road, but luckily we got back on the main road here at the end. You know I go wild sometimes with that spray stain and can't help but spraying it all like a wild woman. I was spraying it everywhere, honey. This basket was brown by the time I got done. But then I used my baby wipe and kind of rubbed it in, which I liked the way that that looked when it got into the grooves of the basket. But I didn't like the way that it looked on that napkin. Like where the napkin stopped and the basket was inside there, I didn't like the way that that looked. So I just used that baby wipe and I kind of wet the napkin again. And I actually used my little spray gun too, my little spray bottle, my spray bottle. And I wet the napkin and I just used my fingers and kind of got that napkin off of the sides because I decided I did not want it on there anymore. Now, it didn't take me too terribly long to get this off there, but my goodness, it was just one thing that I didn't want to have to fool with, you know? Ain't nobody got time for that. So what I did, basically, because it's a napkin, I just wet the sides, used my fingers, and just kind of rubbed it, and that part of the napkin come right back off, the part that I didn't want on there. And that's how I started to correct my basket and fix it in a way that I liked it. Now, if you mess up a project, just stop for a minute, gather your senses, and just ask yourself, you know, well, what can I do to correct this? I've already come this far. Let's just see what we can do. So then I went back over it with the doggone dark wax on that waxing brush, and I don't know why I did that. I didn't like that either. So to fix the whole issue here, after I got all of those napkin pieces off of there that I didn't want, I took that brush that had the white paint on it and I went right back over the areas, and that way the only part of this napkin, or the only part of this basket, I'm sorry, when I edit, my words just go away. I don't know why. The only part of this basket that had the napkin left on it was the bottom part. And that is what looked good. It took me that little trial and error. Okay, we went off on the side road, but we got back. But it took that little trial and error to figure it out. So, like I said, I just took that white chalk paint, went back over the areas of my basket that I wanted to brighten back up and get that brown stain off of, because that brown stain can be covered up with white paint. You know, if I would have just given up, I wouldn't have liked it at all, and I would have just tossed this basket. But I actually like the way it came out in the end. Let me know what you think about it. I'm really loving the way these baskets look with napkins on them lately.
She thinks I'm a little lazy. I think she's a little crazy. We like summer and we like spring, watching wrestling in the ring. She ain't shy, she speaks her mind, tough as nails and smooth as wine. We burn hot as kerosene, baby, we got our own thing. She ain't skinny and I ain't tall, and that don't bother us at all.
Hey, if you stuck with me through this whole video, I just want to say thank you so much. I appreciate you very much, and I appreciate the time that you give me and you come and spend with me, and we do a little crafting and have some crazy girl talk. I love you guys, and don't forget to go back and watch that other video and look at the description box below for the directions on how to get in on that giveaway, because I want everybody to have a chance to get in on this giveaway. It's going to be great. I love you guys. I hope you have a blessed weekend, and next week I will be having a video that's a little bit more difficult than this. Now, these were super easy, but I'm going to challenge myself a little bit next week. But I love y'all, and I will see you on Monday if the Lord's willing and the creek don't rise.